problem is the United States is no longer the greatest manufacturer and exporter of goods. The United States is probably no longer holding the majority of the gold in the world. As a matter of fact, nobody really knows how much gold the United States holds because they won't ever do an audit, which is pretty interesting. You know, you always have to ask yourself, you hear these rumors running wild, lots of rumors like the U.S. doesn't have any gold. In my own opinion, if I had to guess, which I guess I'm guessing right now, I don't think the United States has the gold they say they have. And the reason why I would say that is because they said they had the gold. 1944, the dollar was now pegged to gold, $35 to 1 ounce. I think it was 8,000 tons of gold. And then they were forced to defend that. What do I mean? They started printing way too many of the paper claims, the paper gold certificates, the dollars, and giving them out to the world. So the deal was that the dollar would always be convertible to gold at $35 an ounce. Well, the United States government started printing way too many dollars. And the rest of the world saw this and said, wait a minute. We see what you're doing. The game is up here. We don't want these paper dollars. We want our gold. And so the world was coming to redeem the paper certificates to get the gold back. And the United States was trying to defend that peg. Sound familiar? You know, FTX, like we've seen this game before. They were trying to defend that peg, and so they kept giving the gold, pretending like it was no problem. Oh, sure, no problem. Everything's fine. Here's your gold. Yeah, no big deal. Here's your gold. Trying to pretend that they had not done what they had done by printing all these dollars, but the world knew it. Finally, France sent over its warships to get the gold. Like, hey, we're done. We want the gold. And at that point, the United States defaulted on its debt, and President Richard Nixon said, nope, enough, over. Close the gold window. You can no longer get the gold out anymore. Now, so why do I think the United States doesn't have its gold? Well, because I know they were defending the peg, trying to pretend like nothing was wrong. And finally, when France came to get the gold, they couldn't deliver the gold. Now, they could have just said, we have it and we don't want to give it to you, or they maybe don't really have it. We don't know the answer to that. But my guess is two parts. One, I know they were defending the peg, so they gave up a lot of gold. We don't know exactly how much. We don't know if it got replaced. But what we also know is that they will not audit it. And this is where transparency comes in. If they didn't want these rumors to run rampant, all they have to do is just do an audit, let some inspectors come in, put the cameras on, whatever, show us the gold. If you got the gold, show us the gold. But the fact that they won't do that tells me that there's probably something to hide, right? If you can't be transparent, if you can't tell the truth, then it kind of means you have something to hide. And so, because of those two circumstances, that's my guess. And again, like I said, they could just shoot that down by just saying that we have the gold. So anyway, that's what happened. Now, the key piece to understand after this is that you have to kind of understand, I talk about this many times, and a lot of times people don't understand this, but we don't want money, right? Money is a medium of exchange. Money allows us to exchange our labor. We exert our labor, our ideas, our capital, to get money, dollars in this case. And I know there's some purists out there like, Mark, you don't understand. Dollars aren't money. Gold is money. Yeah. Okay, you get what I'm saying. So we exchange it for money, for dollars, but we don't want the dollars. I can't eat dollars. Dollars don't, bring my family enjoyment. What I want is that money to buy me the things that I want, which is goods and services. I want food. I want gas for my car. I want a car. I want a house, etc. And so I want to exchange those for goods and services. And the reason why that's important to understand is going back to the United States becoming this emergent power because they produced all the goods and they traded with the world. So the U.S. had all the gold and produced the majority of the goods in the world. And that was important because, again, we don't want money. We want the goods. So if I go to Chuck E. Cheese and I want to play a game at Chuck E. Cheese, I need the Chuck E. Cheese tokens. I don't want the Chuck E. Cheese tokens. What I want to play one of their games. So I will give them my money in exchange for their tokens so that I can spend those tokens at Chuck E. Cheese playing those games. Nobody else in the world is going to accept those tokens because what are they going to do? They don't want to go play Chuck E. Cheese games, right? It's not a good medium exchange. And so it's important to understand that. So people would take the dollars because they could give the dollars back in exchange for goods. But today, the U.S. doesn't make the goods anymore. Now, China dominates the goods. So a lot of dollar bulls will tell you, yeah, no country will take other currency. They want the dollars because everyone takes dollars. Why would another country take fill in the blank with whatever fiat currency, Russian rubles, Turkish lira, bolivars, whatever? Why would they accept that when nobody would take them from them? Why would you accept Chuck E. Cheese tokens when nobody will accept those from you, except Chuck E. Cheese? And so that's a good answer, except for what can they really do with dollars? Now, other people accept dollars, but they can't really spend those at the U.S. store because the U.S. doesn't have anything they need. Now, China, on the other hand, makes all the goods. So that's like China is the big Chuck E. Cheese now. So if China gives me their tokens, the Chinese yuan, I can go spend them in China, and China just happens to make the goods that I need. Does that make sense? It's important to understand this, and when you see this, then you start to understand the holes in these dollar bulls logic. So Luke Grauman, one of my favorite analysts, he said on Twitter, the flaw in most people's thinking is but the U.S. dollar is still 88% of global foreign currency trading, which it is. But the reason why that's wrong is because 99.9% of the world doesn't care about FX trading. What they care about is they care about goods that they use in their everyday life. They care about food, gasoline, cars, etc. And so when we look at this over time, we can see, just going back to 2010, if you looked at the world as a pie chart, and you looked at the amount of manufactured goods value being added to the world. In 2010, according to the World Bank, the United States made up about 25%, and China made up about 25%. The euro market made up 25%, and then Japan made up maybe 30%, and the rest was kind of made up between like India, Asia, etc. So it was pretty even, 25, 25, 25 US, 25 China, 25 euro, and then Japan with about 30, and then it kind of spread out. But now fast forward 10 years to 11 to 2021, and we'll see that now China has now moved from 25% of the pie to like 50% of the pie. The United States has gone from like 25% of the pie down to like 30% of the pie. And so what you see is now, again, China's Chuck E. Cheese store has gotten bigger and has most of the goods and services we want. Now, the U.S. still has goods that it exports to the world, but what are those?